I knew they'd fly me to Aquila for training, and I wanted to do something more meaningful with my life than building starships. I thought being a ranger would be a perfect fit, but it didn't turn out like I was expecting. Boarding the ship to leave Hopetown might be the best thing that happened to me while I was a deputy. In the stories I heard growing up, the Rangers were always described as the ultimate champions of justice in the galaxy. But if you've spent any time in the Freestar Collective, it's obvious that they haven't even made a dent in the problems there. Just look at Neon. Poverty and crime are all over the city, but the Rangers barely bothered to patrol it. Learning that made me reconsider my opinion of them. Why? Because I want the best for the people around me? It isn't my problem that most of the settled systems doesn't seem to share my way of thinking. Hopetown is far from the only place with problems in the Freestar Collective. Leaving Polvo opened my eyes to that. It showed me that Ron Hope's attitude isn't unique. The Freestar Collective is full of people willing to take advantage of others to get what they want. And there are barely any systems in place to stop them. No one to tell them no or punish them for it. That's the downside of the Freestar way of doing things, huh? No social safety nets. It's hard for anyone born into poverty to improve their situation, especially with people like Ron Hope and Benjamin Bayou in power. He's the administrator of Neon. He basically owns the city. I like to say that not a credit gets spent on Volii Alpha that doesn't end up in Bayou's pocket. I feel sorry for anyone who has to grow up there. Polvo was bad, but at least we didn't have violent gangs. I'd call myself the exception, not the rule. Most people can't just hop on a starship and become a Freestar deputy. The longer I spent with the Rangers, the more I started to feel like they serve the Freestar Collective's government more than its citizens. I couldn't make peace with the fact that an organization that claimed to stand for freedom and individuality let places like Hopetown exist. Eventually, the hypocrisy was too much. I made the decision to resign and move to the UC. Seemed like people there might share more of my views. There's a reason the United Colonies and the Freestar Collective have never quite seen eye to eye. They do things very differently. The UC provides services like healthcare and job placement for its citizens. Those kind of things don't exist in the Freestar Collective. My opinions about the government's responsibility to its citizens seem to fit better with the UC's way of doing things. It was the right decision, but it wasn't an easy one. My family is still in Hopetown. That was almost enough to keep me from leaving the Freestar Collective. But I had my mind set on finding a better place for all of us. I've been trying to find my parents a way out of Hopetown for years. I thought if I moved to the UC and found out things were better there, they might finally be willing to consider it. Cat got your tongue, huh? Something on your mind, Captain? If you want my opinion on something, you have to ask. This really isn't like you. Captain, is everything okay? Cat got your tongue, huh? Captain, is everything okay? thought I did, at first. New Atlantis is clean and safe, and most of the people there are happy. And it seemed like the government was doing a lot to keep it that way. But my perspective changed after I took an entry-level job with UC Security. They stationed me in the well. I couldn't believe the conditions down there. It made all the UC talk of a perfect society seem like propaganda. The more I started looking around, the more cracks I saw in the whole thing. Their treatment of the soul system to begin with. It's one of humanity's greatest treasures, and they've let it fall into total disarray. The UC's insistence on maintaining a large and well-equipped military is also a bit off-putting. If they're committed to intergalactic peace, why do they need it? Those are the kinds of questions you almost never hear UC citizens ask. I think that comes down to good marketing on Mast's part. The UC makes a show of promising job placement and housing options to all its citizens. But if those programs exist in the well, there's no sign of them. Most people down there live in the same conditions I saw in Hopetown. There's crime and unemployment, and a lack of good medical care. It's nothing like the rest of New Atlantis. But you'd never know that from the outside, of course. This really isn't like you. I think the UC government doesn't like people challenging its decisions, or remembering its history in too much detail. Mast did some horrific things during the Colony War. They'd rather people forget about them, especially citizens who might start demanding a change. The best way to maintain the status quo is to keep people from examining things closely. Consistent propaganda is a good tool for that. It all seems just a little bit too shiny when you really start to look closely, huh? I'm glad I'm not the only one who thinks so. Once the wool fell from my eyes, living in New Atlantis lost its luster. That's when I decided life in the major factions wasn't for me. The problems run too deep. There's corruption and division everywhere, and not enough people are willing to see it. I don't think that will change anytime soon. It seems to me like the only option is starting over, huh? Founding a colony without the influence of massive governments and corporations. Maybe people would be kinder to each other in a place like that. I've always tried to see the best in people. I really believe that the average person wants what's best for everyone around them. I think without the influence of big governments and greedy corporations, people will treat each other better. You read my mind, Captain. You're really getting to know me, huh? I've been thinking about the idea of founding my own settlement for a while. It isn't in my nature to sit around while the problems in the settled systems get worse. But I'm not rushing into anything. If I'm really going to do this, I need to get a better sense of how people live all over the settled systems. That means visiting the major cities and looking at both the good things and the bad. That way, I can decide what things I want to keep and what I am going to leave behind. Good thing I'm working for a captain that likes to travel, huh? We'll hit all the major cities in no time. That's fine by me, Captain. I get wanting to avoid the major factions. I'll settle for looking around the cities during supply runs between our trips. Need me to do anything else?
Aye, Captain. Good to see you.
Hi. Please. I am ready to commence. Return soon.